Good evening, I'm Ben Kitili in Nairobi. Many thanks for joining us on the broadcast on this Tuesday night, the first day of November 2016. We're glad you could join us on your most qualified news bulletin in town. KTN Prime begins now. The top stories tonight.
Her Majesty Lady Kabura, could you kindly demonstrate to us how you carried 52 million from the bank?
You could fit 10 or 20, depending on the size of the bag.
Cool, calm and collected. NYS scam suspect Josephine Kabura gives her account of the NYS millions.
We have not reached a stage of fraud or theft.
As an accountant, once internal audit report has been issued, then you share that information with the internal auditor.
Theft diaries, why experts are questioning Milo's 3.1 billion shillings figure.
You are either with us or with them.
I'll continue working with the Jubilee government, which is the government of the day.
The political parties tribunal deals with disputes. And then if that then is not resolved, then we go to the High Court. If it's not the High Court, we go to the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court.
Plus choices and consequences. ODM now expels rebels, but defectors vow to fight the expulsion. And stepping out, nearly 1 million candidates begin their KCPE exams. Welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter is Maresha Owiti. We begin with what turned to be the longest running and most captivating reality TV show today in Kenya. The lady at the center of the 800 million shilling corruption scandal at the devolution ministry, Josephine Kabura, regaled the nation with descriptions of how she transported up to 50 million shillings at a go in her bag from a bank to a taxi in broad daylight. Kabura was appearing before the National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee, whose members kept stopping her to get clarifications on how she used the monies from the NYS. KTN News reporter Timothy Otieno begins our broadcast tonight.
Are your companies duly registered?
It was the first time Kenyans openly heard from a 35-year-old lady at the center of the 791 million shilling corruption scandal at the devolution ministry. Having failed to appear before the committee thrice before, Josephine Kabura claimed that her lawyer was unavailable at the time of the summons and therefore could not present herself then. The committee began its line of questioning surrounding 20 farms believed to have been started by Kabura in just 1 month following the start of business dealings with the Ministry of Devolution. Kabura admitted to being the owner of 20 companies, including Braincraft Trading, Smartboard Learning Equipment, Gilnack General Suppliers, Form Home Builders, and Examatric Solutions, all of which received a sum of 1.6 billion shillings in payments from the devolution ministry.
Are you the one who registered this company? And did you have any other owners apart from yourself?
I was the sole proprietor of the businesses.
All the 20 businesses?
Yes, Chair.
How were you able to run 20 businesses, Josephine Kabura?
The mood of the session would change after Josephine and her lawyer became evasive when it came to accounting for how large sums of withdrawal amounting to 292 million shillings were made.
You have made my chairman to wake up and...
The matter at one point prompting the committee's chair to physically show them a financial transaction of funds believed to have been laundered through illegal payments.
All the cash withdrawal that I made was to pay for the materials which were being delivered to the site.
Just demonstrate how this you carried to what point, because then the forensic expert would assist us through the CCTV on somebody carrying 4 bags or so to a taxi, or whether this money was carried to the next bank. That is the bit I would like to get clearly from you, please.
And the money will be carried using bags. And then...
Without security? Sorry? The money could be carried using bags?
This is not a laughing matter.
How many bags can carry 52 million? You know, even Josephine can laugh that statement knowingly that I'm just lying. Carrying 52 million shillings in bags, how do you carry? What is the mode of transport?
Madam, you want to tell me the suppliers don't have an account? Do you know even the smallest businessmen in Kenya today, men and women, do have accounts? Why are you transporting 52,000 in a bag? 52 million in a bag? And you're saying you're carrying it alone to the quarry. Do you know today if I withdraw 1 million and it's very hard for me to get it, I'll be very scared. She may be experienced, Chair.
But Kafura's seemingly lackluster responses in accounting for the use of transferred funds is what may have at one point irked the members of the committee, who insisted that she may have been shielding those behind the money minting scheme.
I'm not taking anyone for granted.
You are?
I appeared here. I did not steal any money. And
how much tax did you pay on this? And where is the proof? How much tax did you pay on this money and where is the proof? Have you ever filed returns to carry?
No proof to that, Chair.
Have you ever filed returns to the Kenya Revenue Authority? Please let her answer. Have you ever filed returns to the Kenya Revenue Authority?
I was in the process of...
No. Have you ever filed returns? It's a yes or no answer. Have you ever filed returns to the Kenya Revenue Authority?
No, Chair.
The scandal has seen Josephine emerge as the focal point in a case that saw 11 NYS officials arraigned before a court of law, with a mention expected on the 7th of November. After what the chair of the Parliamentary Accounts Committee described as a back-and-forth merry-go-round session, ultimately Josephine Kabura Irungu expressed her desire to continue the sessions in camera, ultimately ending, at least before the cameras, a session that raised more questions than answered in a 791 million shilling scam that is already before the courts of law. Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
Thank you, Timothy. That is the basis of our big question discussion here on the broadcast tonight. We are asking you, do you expect the National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee to help Kenyans get the truth about the National Youth Service corruption scandal? Tell us what you think. SMS your yes or no opinion plus a brief comment to our studio line 22155. You can also tell us what you think online on Twitter. Tweet me at Ben_Kitili, at KTN News, and at KTN Kenya. The hashtag is KTN Prime. We shall be sampling some of your tweets and texts. Now, there are so many corruption scandals that many Kenyans have probably forgotten what the National Youth Service scandal is all about. Let's now tell you about those monies, the infamous 791 million shillings. Reports and official reports indicate it could be more than that. Now, let's tell you about the 791 million that has been reported. This is money that was paid out to 3 companies, 3 businesses actually. They are not registered as companies according to the registrar of companies. They are registered as business names only. It was paid out to Form Home Builders, Reinforced Concrete Technologies, and Roof and All Trading. The first 2, Form Home Builders, records indicate that money was paid up to 5 months before the company, that business, was even registered at the company registrar. Reinforced Concrete Technologies had money paid to it 2 months at least before it was even registered as a business name. That is according to records from the registrar of companies. That is the 791 million that was set to construct a 3.5-kilometer road in Kibera. That is money. Those 3 companies, according to the registrar of companies, all the proprietor is Josephine Kabura Irungu. That is the money that is attributed to Josephine Kabura, part of it. Now, in June this year, a special audit by the Auditor General showed a 609 million more that is paid out over and above the 791 million. That is, of course, more money. That is more money also attributed to Josephine Kabura Irungu. According to her affidavit, that figure is at 1.6 billion Kenya shillings. The total money, according to what we can see, the money trail that we can follow through official channels, is 1.4 billion. That is the total money lost through the NYS scam. That is the money attributed to Josephine Kabura Irungu. According to her, it is 1.6 billion Kenya shillings. According to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, who came out to say that more money was lost, more than the 791 million, it is 1.8 billion. Now, of course, this was money supposed to be for projects in and around the capital, Nairobi, but there are others for the whole country, which indicates that more billions, more money could have been lost. There are records of a supply of maize, supply of wheat, supply of construction equipment like earth movers and all that. So this points to the fact that the money that was lost through the NYS scandal is more than the 791 million that has been talked about for months. It is more than the 1.4 billion, but that is the trail of that money. Staying with the crisis of corruption here in the country, the controversy at the Ministry of Health of an alleged misappropriation of up to 5 billion shillings went a notch higher as it emerged that some ministry officials were initially opposed to the internal auditor who uncovered the missing billions. This comes in the wake of a spirited attempt by the ministry to clear itself from the scandal. Oremi Mwangi now reports.
In an attempt to deflect the heat from Afya House, the Health Ministry late Monday evening released a report indicating that only 3.1 billion shillings from the ministry was subject to a recent controversial internal audit.
Public Procurement Oversight Authority.
And now experts are questioning the credibility of the ministry's self-sanitizing internal audit report that sought to discredit reports of an alleged 5.3 billion shillings scandal at Afya House as grossly exaggerated and misleading.
They cannot clear themselves. As an accountant, once internal audit report has been issued, then you share that information with the internal auditor, and it's actually the internal auditor who clears you on case by case.
In the earlier report, the internal auditor had accused the ministry of flouting the Public Financial Management Act by redirecting 302 million shillings from the free maternity kitty to other health commitments, including 18 million for the purchase of Ebola transmission posters and a grant of 250 million to the Kenya Medical Training College. But Makoha Wanjala, a certified public accountant, still argues that some key stakeholders may have been ignored in the reallocation of the funds.
If it was indeed an emergency, in my view, and I do know that there are state agencies that we know every time there's a disaster, there are state agencies for whom the parliament normally provides a basket of funds, because emergency is such that you can't predict.
If loss of money is taking raw money and putting somewhere, I haven't come to that point. We have not reached a stage of fraud or theft.
Under the Constitution, Schedule 4, it is clear that maternal health and health delivery itself is a function of the national government. This is now the second large example of why we should have stopped national ministry procurement in goods and services for the health ministry.
In this letter addressed to Treasury CS Henry Rotich, dated 12th July, Health PS Nicholas Muragori wanted Treasury to post internal auditors who were, quote, conversant with the audit of donor projects. This over 1 month after the internal auditor was seconded to the health ministry. The said auditor, Bernard Mushere, had worked in public service for 32 years, including 26 of these as an auditor.
They cannot say that we will be audited by X, Y, and Z. Let's take this to the private sector perspective. If a CEO of a company that is listed wrote to the board and says that he or she wants the auditor to be removed, chances are it's the CEO who might leave.
The initial audit that has been done internally, one of the things that we need to be asking the Cabinet Secretary to do is to finalize that audit. We want to see the full set of documents, not just simply the final audit. And I think if that happens, then we would be, we'd feel more confident. We may feel as confident as the Cabinet Secretary in terms of what's happened. But I think, apart from that, we must see an independent audit done, essentially commissioned by the Auditor General, no less.
Health CS Cleopa Mailu and PS Muragori were expected to meet the Senate Health Committee on Tuesday to shed light on the said scandal, but the said meeting was moved to a later date. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News, in Nairobi.
In other news, is Kenya heading to yet another series of by-elections just months to the 2017 general election? The ODM party has thrown a spanner in the works once again by expelling rebels who defected to the Jubilee party and asked that their seats be declared vacant. As KTN News political affairs reporter Chris Airo now tells us, the rebels have sworn to fight the expulsion to the bitter end.
Less than 24 hours after the Orange Democratic Movement Party resolved through its National Governing Council to expel 10 of their members whom they accused of working with their rivals in Jubilee, the party has formally written to the Registrar of Political Parties seeking to have them delisted from the party's register. The party's executive director, Odoro Ngwen, has further asked the National and County Assembly speakers, copied in the letter through the clerks of the affected assemblies, to declare the 10 seats being held by the rebels as vacant.
Going into this election, ODM will not recognize a middle ground or any grey lines. You are either with us or with them.
The Registrar of Political Parties has already acknowledged having received the letter from ODM. She has now 7 days to delist the names from the party register before informing the electoral body, IEBC, as well as the clerks of the assemblies, that the affected members are no longer members of ODM, so that they can declare the seats vacant. But the affected members are not ready to take this lying down.
Procedure requires that you go to the political parties tribunal because it's a dispute. So the political parties tribunal deals with disputes. And then if that then is not resolved, then you go to the High Court. If it's not the High Court, we go to the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court. So of course. No, we are going all the way. Why would you leave it lying? I mean, what is the mistake of telling people the political reality?
Something I expected them to do, and I'm least worried. I was elected by the people of Mathare to represent them. And I'm certain I will represent the people of Mathare now and in the future.
Budalangi MP Ababu Namwamba, who was also the party Secretary General, took to the social media where he indicated that he is not apologetic. In his Twitter handle, he said, and I quote, "Rebel with just a cause, proudly, unapologetically, unbowingly so," end quote. His expelled colleagues were also unapologetic.
My next course of action is to continue what I've been doing. I'll continue working with the Jubilee government, which is the government of the day, in bringing services and delivering development agenda to the people of Mathare constituency.
We must face the political reality as it is, and I think it is important for people to play politics of gentlemanship. I think it's also important for individuals who had political parties to be seen to be people who are reliable and who can be trusted. In this case, I don't think it applies.
According to lawyer John Swaka, the affected members have a grace period of 7 days to appeal the decision by ODM, and they have a choice to either file the appeal with the Political Parties Tribunal or the High Court.
They still have a recourse in law, of course. They can actually move in there and protest those kind of decisions. They can equally move to the High Court for there to be a sort of stay or an order stopping that particular exercise from taking place, if they will be able to lay enough substance before the court for the court to agree with them.
However, it still remains unclear whether voters in Kwale County will be forced to go back to the ballot or whether Salem Vuria's deputy will take over for the remainder of the term. This because the Constitution does not envisage a case where the party will expel the governor.
The deputy can take over, but you see now, the other challenge that we have is that, remember, the deputy was not voted in. Okay? Deputy yako pigiwa kura. Kwa hivyo, there's a bit of a lacuna there, whether we actually supposed to go for this, for gubernatorial elections or not, because the deputies were just chosen.
With less than 10 months to the 2017 general elections, the IEBC has confirmed that it is ready to conduct any by-election if any seat will be declared vacant. Chris Dairo, KTN News.
Will be interesting to see how that pans out. You have no choice but to continue with the radical reforms in the judiciary set in motion by your predecessor. That was a message from court leaders to the new Chief Justice David Maraga when they met him this morning. The Chief Justice said the Supreme Court is now fully constituted and will resume sittings on the 11th of November.
The Coalition for Reforms and Democracy leaders were meeting the new Chief Justice for the first time after his appointment, together with his deputy Philomena Mwilu. Their message to the new judiciary chiefs was explicit.
We want to see justice being done in our country. And they say that justice delayed is justice denied. And we hope that the judiciary will be reformed to be able to give Kenyans the justice that they so desire.
Their emphasis being much talked about radical reforms in the judiciary.
We know that this position is challenging, that is going to face a lot of challenges because we are in a transition, and he has a responsibility to continue with the judicial reforms which were started under the Grand Coalition government.
But the CJ challenged all the stakeholders to play their role as well.
The task of winning and building public confidence in public institutions is a responsibility we all bear.
As he promised to spearhead key reforms in the judiciary, among them reduction of cases, digitization of records, and automation of judicial proceedings.
And we are determined to create an institution where public confidence is strong, not by our demand, but by our service.
And with that, they retreated to their workstation hand in hand, the CJ and the deputy CJ, knowing too well all eyes will be on them. You have your work cut out seems to be the message by opposition leaders to the new Chief Justice, whom they say he has no choice but to continue the transformation journey in the judiciary, whose foundation was laid by the Grand Coalition government and kick-started by former Chief Justice Dr. Willy Mutunga. Duncan Hemba, KTN, at the Supreme Court.
As for 952,000 candidates across the country today started their Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examinations, and more than 26,000 registered centers. New stringent exam regulations were followed on day one to try and curb cases of cheating. Caroline B. was up and about.
Job Kibichi takes his time to prepare for the final exams in his home at Ndalat area, Nandi County. With all set to go, his mother and other siblings are all here just to make sure everything falls in place. He braves himself in the midst of other pupils to achieve his goals despite his disability.
Napenda maths na science. Nafikiri siku yenye mtihani itatoka nzuri. Napenda kwenda high school Starry Boys.
Kibichi is joined by hundreds of thousands of students countrywide, and it was not business as usual, as students were subjected to more elaborate security measures than the custom. Pockets were emptied inside out, no clipboards and geometrical sets. Everything was placed in clear polythene bags. Every exam room had at most 20 candidates, each sitting 1.2 meters away from the next. No candidate was allowed to visit the restroom without the company of an armed police officer.
Papers were taken to the rooms where the children are, and in front of the children, the candidates, they had to show them by witnessing that the papers were sealed, and in front of the policemen.
We are sure this time round, we are not going to experience any cheating issues following the start and what has taken place this morning. And if it goes on like this, we will have a credible result.
A center with less than 15 candidates was matched with a nearer school for easier logistics, as was the case at Kimathi Primary School that housed Twin Bird Academy and Kirago Waishahi Primary School. The old were also not left out in the exercise, similar to inmates who were also aiming at rectifying their troubled past. With enhanced security measures having been put in place for this year's KCPE examinations, expectations are quite high that no cases of cheating will be reported. Caroline B., KTN News at Kimathi Estate Primary School.
All the best to the KCPE class of 2015 now. Josephine Kabura Irongo appeared before the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly today after failing to do so on previous occasions. On the big question discussion tonight, we are asking you, do you expect the Public Accounts Committee to help Kenyans get to the bottom of the NYS corruption scandal? Keep your texts and tweets coming. 22155 is our SMS line here in studio. Twitter at Ben_Kitili, at KTN News, at KTN Kenya. The hashtag is KTN Prime and hashtag Graft Diaries, as always, here on the broadcast. We're taking a quick commercial break. Don't go too far. We're back shortly with more news for you. Stay with us.
An ugly turn for the second deceased member of the family, Simon Mwangi, was to be buried at a separate compound on Wednesday 2nd. It emerged that Mwangi's grandfather, Daniel Wangombe, did not want his grandson buried in his land. It turns out that Mwangi's unmarried mother, Mary Nyawera, allegedly fell out with her own father, Mwangi's grandfather. Agitated youth who came carrying the coffin high, accompanied by Mwangi's mother, Nyawera, insisted that they would proceed to dig Mwangi's grave. Things got out of hand fast. They turned sour. Pleased to have the grandfather allow his grandson to be buried on his land bore no fruits, and the old man remained resolute. The rest, however, forcibly continued to dig even as security personnel tried to plead for calm and reason. Ultimately, Simon Mwangi was buried amid all the drama that rocked the entire village. Aside from the intense Tuesday drama at Nyarifo village, the big question that begs is why the young men of Kieni in Nyeri keep heading to Mandera despite the glaring insecurity quagmire. Jacob Mwangi, who came back from Mandera, vows to never go back. Sentiments shared by his fellow villager Robert Kamau, who also worked in Mandera.
Na sasa wewe mwenyewe kwa sababu umefanya kazi Mandera, kwa hiyo miaka umekuwa huko, unaweza kurudi Mandera kwa sasa?
Siwezi rudi huko. Siwezi rudi. Mandera siwezi rudi.
The quarry workers in Nyeri fetch roughly 7 shillings per foot of stone, but their counterparts in Mandera get about 30 shillings for the same work. A difference of 23 shillings, quite a huge margin. It is perhaps why they keep trickling to Mandera.
But what their family and friends are pleading with them is to remain home, at least until security will be restored.
Samuel Gishuki owns a quarry in Kiganjo. Why do they, as quarry owners in Nyeri, pay their workers so little?
Pesa mingi zinatumika na ile product ya mawe iwe pesa mingi zinatumika huko. Sasa unakuta ya kwamba huwezi wapatia mafudi pesa mingi kwa sababu ya ile kuchibua mchanga na kuondoa ile takataka inatumia pesa mingi ndio upate ile mawe. Hiyo ndio inafanya kwamba hapa pesa siwe kidogo kiasi.
In every instance that there has been an attack in Mandera, Nyeri mourns. Pictures of rows and rows of coffins are not new in Nyeri anymore. Carol Nderi, KTN News, Nyarifo Village, Nyeri County.
Let's now switch gears to the race for the White House. It is now exactly a week to the big day in America as voters head to the ballot to choose between main presidential contenders Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. As the polls change by the minute, Trick Singato now paints a picture for us of what the last campaign days are all about. Sold in September 2015. Elsewhere, the future of East Africa having a single currency appears to be facing headwinds as countries still weigh options of the benefits of having such a monetary union. Despite the uncertainty, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, is optimistic of this being attained by the year 2024. KTN Zabi Agina reports from Arusha, Tanzania, the seat of the EAC, on what progress countries have made in line with preparations towards the union and what players in the financial sector envision of this move.
With the fast-growing population in East Africa, coupled with advanced technology, the push to have markets converge has been a talking point for some time now.
There is a slowdown. It is not moving as fast as we would have wanted. We see the benefits at the end of the tunnel, but the benefits seem to be so far.
If you can get economic integration, that will be great. Effectively, it means you can begin to move our intra-Africa trade.
One of the ways towards easing trade within the region has been establishing a monetary union, which would pave the way for the 6 member countries to use a single currency.
Regional trade has grown by 51% over the last 10 years, which is something. So there is progress. Maybe it has not been, the speed of light.
Players in the region have been divided about this, arguing it needs a bit more time. So far, little progress has been achieved as countries engage in back-and-forth consultations. The International Monetary Fund says for Africa to enjoy faster growth, integration of the markets is critical.
Convergence is taking place, and I think the commitment to the currency union is also there.
We still see some slow commitments from the different players of different countries. So, because full integration really means losing some sovereignty.
Well, the journey towards having a common currency that will be used across the 6 regional countries remains quite elusive, with quite a substantial amount of work yet to be done. Reporting for KTN News, I'm Abi Agina in Arusha, Tanzania.
Now, the process to identify the recipient of the Most Respected Company of the Year award for 2016 got off to a roaring start today, with the sponsors and other stakeholders gathering at the Standard Group Center on Mombasa Road to kickstart the effort. This year, the awards are in their 17th edition and will be recognizing 14 companies that have embraced the Organizational Performance Index, OPI, Business Excellence Framework. So far, 450 companies in Kenya and Rwanda have gone through this optimization process conducted by the Kenya Institute of Management, and who host the Most Respected Company of the Year awards. The Koya Gala has been scheduled for the 4th of this month at the Safari Park Hotel.
You okay? Yes, yes. Good.
Businesses thrive based on the foundations they set, or they collapse based on the foundations they set. So the way we did business in the 80s, the way we did business in the 90s, the way we did business at the turn of the millennium, and the way we are doing business today, a lot has changed. These changes have to be, how do I say, they have to be driven in society.
We have what it takes to transform this economy, and it is the SMEs that are going to change the face of this country.
That's where we leave it on KTN Business tonight, but as always, let's leave you with today's numbers at the Nairobi Securities Exchange as well as the money markets. Welcome back once more. And in sports, Kenya Cup champions Kabura Sugar aiming to begin their season on a high when they take on Mean Machine in their first match this weekend. As the Kenya Cup season begins, the Millers are seeking to retain the title this season, although they expect a number of top teams to challenge for it.
Kabura Sugar won the Kenya Cup title last season after only 2 years in the Kenya Cup League. The Kakamega-based side upset a number of top sides in the league, which left many envious of their achievements in the second year in the Kenya Cup. With only a number of days away before the season bullies off, they feel they have put in enough preparation for the new season.
So far, so good. I think we are happy with the strides we've made. We've just had a pre-season friendly this past weekend. At least it allowed us to have a good idea of where we are as a team, and also test some of the young players coming through from last season.
With the title safe in their den, Kaburas feel they have what it takes to handle the title defense well, despite a number of teams expected to challenge for the title.
Winning it was one thing last season, and I think anyone who followed last season league closely will realize that there's a lot of top rugby being played in Kenya at the moment. There's good teams out there, and everyone is looking to win the title.
Heading into the new season, the Kakamega County Club reinforced its squad, and they believe the new players will add more quality. They are also looking forward to get the best out of their Fijian players.
This season, as expected, they've settled in. They're now more familiar with the game, how it's played here, so they should be more familiar with how things go about.
Last season saw Kaburas pocket maximum points at home in almost all matches they hosted, but this season they seek to bag more points away from home.
Our plan obviously is first and foremost try and win our home games. You have to win your home games first before you even talk about the away games.
Kaburas begin their title defense against Mean Machine on 5th November at the Kakamega Showgrounds. Robinson Okenye, KTN Sports.
In athletics, Lotto Foundation is the title sponsor of this year's Baringo Half Marathon. This announcement was made Tuesday as the organizers launched the 14th edition of the event. The organizers believe for the country to develop in sport, they have to develop grassroots budding talents, just like it's done in developed countries. Mary Kaitani, former London Marathon winner who currently holds the second fastest marathon time in the world, was discovered during the Baringo Half Marathon. The Lotto Baringo Half Marathon, slated for Saturday, the 5th of November this year, has attracted about 200 participants, both amateur and elite athletes. Track and field athletes and 2007 silver medalist Josephat Menjo is among key participants expected to lead a pack of elite runners at the meets.
Takes a lot of pride in sporting talents in the county, and Baringo over time has raised many talented athletes and exposed them to national and international events.
Our athletes, not only in athletics, they need a platform where their talent is brought up to a level where they can be recognized, and also when the talent is brought up, we need to nurture the talent. So in our small way, we hope that this Baringo Marathon is a platform for that.
This weekend, the final group of 800 aspiring footballers will converge at the Gone Institute football grounds in Nairobi to participate in trials organized by Betway Kenya as part of its inaugural Betway Talent Search, launched in September 2016. The trials will give the footballers a chance to test their skills under the watchful eyes of local and international scouts. As they compete for a place in the final 16 who will attend a specialized football training camp. The camp will be headed by Francis Kimanzi, head coach of Mathare United, and include coaching staff from West Ham United, as well as local legend Dennis Oliech.
Hivyo tumeshukuru sana. Leo ilikuwa ni kama ni second edition tunafanya. Ile ya kwanza ilikuwa pia mzuri, isipokuwa wachezaji pia walikuwa wachache, lakini unajua pia nafikiria baada ile ya kwanza imefanya kidogo ikawapatia wengi motisha. Leo tumekuwa na wengi zaidi, na wakiwa wengi kwetu ni kazi na ni kazi nzuri.
This is an initiative that Betway has taken up to look for talent across the country. We encouraged young men between the ages of 18 and 25 to sign up and register.
Right, on our big question discussion as we wind up, we did ask you, do you expect the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly to help Kenyans get the truth about the National Youth Service scandal, corruption scandal? That is, Okande Ogada says, Kenyans need no truth, they know the truth. All we want are prosecutions and the recovery of the money. Wacheke Isaac says, it can't unravel the truth since Josephine did not disclose anything, as now she is coached denying everything. Waiguru on Twitter says, GM Waiguru on Twitter says, The PAC itself is corrupt. Another one here from Muri David who says, no, there is a feeling of public lynching more than justice. Kenyans want justice, not party politics. Comic on Twitter says the pain of corruption is felt at the grassroots level. Ask the old lady in the village and she'll say graft diaries. Israel Grande Mate on Twitter says, going by today's sittings, some truth began surfacing and Kabura's caginess depicted hidden information. James Mwangi, CEO, says, no, this is nothing more than a political theatrics at a graduate level. And finally, one here from Cheryl Lomboy says, will getting the truth get the money back to the truth, and no money will not help Kenya in any way. Thanks for participating in our big question discussion as we continue to report and analyze graft diaries reported here on the broadcast KTN Prime. And thank you for watching KTN Prime. I'm Ben Kitili. Good night from Nairobi.